This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and NIL Game Changers. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and NIL Game Changers. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
This half hour brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, best in new inventory. I think everybody knows I went with Ford, and it was a great purchase. And they also have great pre-owned inventory. Your budget may be screaming, hey, look, I got to go the pre-owned inventory route. Well, they go over each one with a fine-tooth comb. That way it eases the buying experience. And they have a great service department that backs it up from routine to inspections to difficult. They handle it all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Guy that defines professionalism with class is Frank Bodani, York Daily Record. Frank, welcome back.
Hey, happy football season, Steve.
Yeah.
Thanks for that intro, man.
Well, you deserve it after all these years of knowing you. That was easy for me to say. So,
yeah. Only a week and a half to go, so I can't believe it. And Penn State opens on the road again, so this should be intriguing for us.
Yeah, it should be intriguing because on a weekend where there are a couple of marquee games like LSU, USC, so forth. Penn State, West Virginia is actually one of the better opening games. So in your opinion, how much do you think everybody, including James Franklin, will learn because of the opponent and where the game's being played?
Yeah, I think you're force-fed to learn a lot about how you can deal with, I don't know, I guess adversity is the right word, because you don't have any, the runway is real short because you're going on the road, and everything you deal with young players and first-time starters right away, right? There's no, breaking in with a couple of home games against a MAC team or something, so, and it's a hostile environment. Penn State hasn't played there in more than 30 years. So it'll be a good test, I think, kind of just maybe, I don't know, emotionally, how you handle all these things, maybe even more than physically the opponent. So I think it's a good test. And, they've had some fairly harrowing opening road game experiences under James Franklin. So I guess the idea is to build for better for this one.
Drew Allar has gone through one season, so he's no longer a rookie at quarterback. He's seen a lot of different speeds of defenses. What can that mean in a situation like this going on the road as a second-year starter?
Well, that composure, he knows, if not what to expect. I think his reaction to what he gets will be, I've seen that before. I know what to do here. And really key in that he's using, he's going to be operating a somewhat varied new offense. So you're also breaking out at least somewhat of a new offense on the road in the first week, but you have the advantage of him playing the whole year last year as a starter, but he also had some experience a little bit the year before. So this isn't even a second-year guy, really. So I think that's huge for all the intangibles that go into what we're dealing with. And I know people are excited to see what Andy Kotelnicki's offense, how different it looks.
Which that was going to be my next question. Between Andy Kotelnicki and Tom Allen, as a reporter, how anxious are you to see what kind of touches they have put in and how Penn State works with those touches?
Yeah, especially, offensively, obviously, I think there's much more to gain. And I only say that because Penn State's defense was really good the last 2 years. It should be really good again. And I think the only thing defensively, I guess I'm looking at is, well, maybe how often do you see more than two linebackers on the field at the same time? And let's get a better look at Abdul Carter at defensive end. Offensively, everything's a play to me because how it's about using the players, I think, hopefully differently, getting them in space, getting them the ball easier. How does that all function? How does that look? Because I think there's more to get. I think people think there's more to get from your two tailbacks who are very talented, and from your receivers, and the quarterback, and the backup quarterback, right? So
right.
What does that all look like? I think, people are, they're excited to see it.
They are excited to see it. So now we get to the next part. Everybody's talked in the offseason. What's been the primary talking point in the offense, besides Andy being there, has been about the wide receivers. And, obviously there's been reports about how things have gone to this point. But how anxious are you to see what practicality looks like?
Yeah, I want to see how easy it looks like to get them the ball. Because I don't disagree. I would not disagree with James Franklin saying there's enough talent in the room. But it just seemed like it was always a struggle to find these guys. And I'm thinking last year. And I'm thinking, well, Drew Allar, he's got all of his abilities and talents. And these receivers were pretty good recruits. Why does it look this hard? So, and Liam Clifford is a guy, to me, is an example of that. I really thought he would be a guy he'd be a safety valve guy, a zone breaker, buster, a guy you'd find in the middle of the field time and again for the first down. And we just didn't see a lot of that last year. I'm still looking. I'm expecting to see him touch the ball in a lot of those circumstances a lot more this year. So how do they do it? What's the pre-snap motion and all of the window dressing look like? And Trey Wallace, I think we were kind of robbed of seeing him and his experience, his potential last year just because of the injuries. I think everybody's name is Julian Fleming because we've heard about him for not just the past year on end, but people know about him for 5 years now, Steve?
Yeah, that's right.
So, but I think Trey Wallace, he's a guy that's apparently maybe the number one right now. So let's get him healthy. He had a great start against West Virginia last year, right? I think he had 7 catches.
Yeah.
So I think he stays healthy. I just want to see what that kid can do.
What do you think the running backs, Singleton and Allen, can mean in the passing game?
It's a huge untapped area. I think you saw it a little bit at the end of the year at Michigan State in the bowl game, particularly with Nick. That was a great play, maybe the offensive highlight of Tyler Warren's catch was really good, but Bo Fabiola finding Nick Singleton for the touchdown, and I think it gave you a glimpse of, hey, get this guy out there, look for him. These running backs are going to be a great asset. They just, to me, were not used last year nearly enough. So I think they're both really good at that. We hear Quentin Martin can be a receiving threat even before he gets there on the field. If he can get himself a role on that team, I think he could really help out a lot. So I think they just have untapped ability, and I think it's receiving but also running. They just need some room to operate.
Have you done any kind of dive at all yet into West Virginia, or are you going to wait till game week for that?
A little bit. I'm thinking their offenses are going to be ahead of their defense from what it looks like. They also use a pretty successful running back combination like Penn State, and one of their kids, Jaheim White, is from New York, so we're pretty familiar with Jaheim. He had a great second half of last year, including a 200-yard rushing day against Cincinnati. So, but a small guy. Penn State didn't really recruit him. He's like 5'7", 5'9", but really successful. And their quarterback, Penn State fans know about. So I think the right off the bat, the real interesting is test matchup is their offense. against Penn State's defense. And can Penn State stop the run? And that means Garrett Green, the quarterback, too. And that's gave him a little bit of trouble last year. But, Penn State may have, the oldest defensive tackle group in the country. So we're looking for that to help them out against the run, right?
Right. Oh, it's a completely different year in every way because there's a 12-team playoff. There are no divisions. There's helmet communication. There are iPads on the sidelines. How do you view each of these changes, starting with the playoff? And I'll take you through one by one. We'll start with the playoff.
I think the playoff, a lot of intrigue and a different look for teams that almost – hey, you lose in the past, you lose one game, this game, or you lose that game, and you're done for what you really want. And now all of a sudden, teams like Penn State, particularly, we keep hearing this, Penn State should benefit about the most of anyone. Their season isn't done, even if they lose 2 games, right? And that's what I think is so interesting about this. But there's also the home game aspect to this. So you have not only more teams in it, but a team like Penn State hosting a playoff game a weekend before Christmas, and you don't know who they could play. That's just it makes it more fair. I think it makes this more fair. I mean, if you go back to, hey, we're at the anniversary in 1994, right? Okay, what kind of options did that team have?
Right.
That team had like 0 options at the end of the year to prove who they were. They had to play one team in one game, and that's it. And now Penn State and a lot of others have a lot of other possibilities.
Which now brings us to no divisions. I think that, for Wisconsin and Iowa, there's always been almost that easy ride into the conference championship game. What do you think of no divisions? Because across the board, there are no divisions. SEC, Big 12, ACC, Big 10. Your thought on that?
Oh, that's more. We're talking about let's make this more fair. That's more fair. I mean, there was nothing fair about the Big Ten divisions in the past. You had, like you mentioned, the easy walk, so to speak, maybe for Wisconsin, Iowa, and then look at the other side of it. Literally the hardest walk in college football when you consider the Penn State's in the same division with the last 3, 4, 5 years, the 2 of the best teams in the country's in your division. I mean, the SEC couldn't even really say that. Not like that.
Right.
So, yeah, let's be more fair.
Okay, so now we get to the next one. Helmet communication. In the NFL, you've had this for 30 years. College football is doing it for the first time. And on Penn State staff, for example, Andy Koltanicki and Tom Allen, they've been college coaches their entire lives. So they haven't had to do this. Just your thought on, especially early in the season, making sure it works because of the 15-second shutoff.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's individual basis, right? I mean, Andy Koltanicki was already asked about the idea of, hey, this is great, you can communicate more, but you can't over-communicate, right? So how do you draw this balance? But I'm thinking, okay, you have a really creative offensive play caller, and you have what we envision as a very intelligent, very high-profile, potential-filled quarterback. I think that should be a good marriage. I think that should help. I think, Penn State will take advantage of this. I think this is – I mean, hey, there's a lot of kinks to work out at the beginning of any season. This is another one. Right?
Then the ability to use iPads, which will not be still pictures like we've seen forever in the NFL. You can use video. I mean, for every team across the country. I mean, what do you think of that?
Hey, how do you use the technology to your advantage? And I'm thinking, all you got to do is go online and look at Penn State's athletic department and how big it is. And it's big for a reason. It grows for a reason. And this is part of the huge reason, right? Because you got to be able to have people to staff this and take advantage of the situation. And great, Penn State I think James Franklin's staff will I mean, they're going to use this. They know this. This is in their control.
Right.
You know, I think the hard thing for Penn State football is there's been some things that have been tough that have been somewhat out of their control. And I mean, as a team, and I mean, NIL was part of this, right? We know James Franklin and they didn't have control from the beginning over what Penn State's NIL looked like.
Right.
They did not. Well, they have control over this and this change and this technology, and I think it'll work well.
What are the primary questions that readers give you when they make their comments or want to get a hold of you? What are their primary questions?
No, they're asking, well, you know, can Penn State make the playoffs? And then, we talk about, well, how this is different now. Can they finally make the playoffs? Well, yeah, they can, as long as they don't lose 3 games, they're going to be in the playoffs. People wonder about they ask about James Franklin all the time. and they ask about, and it goes in with expectations. And, well, is he good? You know, is he on the hot seat? If they don't make the playoffs, is he on the hot seat? And then I think people have very short. They look at things very ultra focused in the moment rather than let's look at the big picture here. I mean, Penn State's been one of the most consistent teams in the country and in the roughest division. So, yeah, let's talk about the whole picture. No, James Franklin's not on the hot seat in any way that I see. So make the playoffs or not. So, and then I think, Drew Allar, obviously we're hitting all the points, and in York, Bo Prabula, so the quarterbacks, right? So is Bo going to get, what's his role going to look like? Which is really, beyond York, is an intriguing question because, to me, Steve, as a runner, he has pretty, I think, undervalued, pretty impressive skills that I'm really looking forward to seeing how much they use him, find a way to use him to their advantage early in games, and how that can work. I mean, that could be a real weapon, yet using 2 quarterbacks, not always the easiest thing, but so, yeah, we're always talking about Bo Prabula here.
Well, I will give you one Bo nugget. It was from Sunday. And I think it was the last drill it was the next to last drill they did. It was a 2-minute drill, something like that. It was the last, right? And so he had to take off and run. He darts right, darts left, darts right, darts left. And Smith Vilbert was standing next to me, and he goes, "Oh, man, he just drives us nuts."
Well, you remember Rashard Casey running. And
of course I do.
You know how guys have different styles. And to me, it's not, it's just, I think it's his vision and his decisiveness, not like his wiggle or his dramatic cuts. Or it's just that, he makes a decision, he sees it, and he goes in it. And that process, he does it so well, it makes him look faster, maybe even. I mean, he's just really good at picking out when and how and where to go.
Any national story you're looking at, Frank, right now beyond Penn State that intrigues you?
I guess I'm so focused on because the Big Ten has become national on it.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
I mean, Oregon is a team that Penn State doesn't play, but how do the West Coast teams fit into a conference that's 1,000, almost 2,000 miles away, not just with travel, but with their styles of play? I mean, Oregon's expected to do really, really well. USC, I'm really intrigued about because they have a reputation recently of being this high-powered, very skillful offense. And what are they going to do with the physicality, especially dealing with Big Ten defenses and Big Ten running games? Maybe it doesn't matter, but I'm fascinated to see that because they seem to be built a little like, I think Big Ten fans know Maryland. Maryland very skillful, fast, scores a lot of points. They look really good often in September and October, and sometimes they get to the end of the year, and the physicality doesn't look like it's really there for Maryland. you've seen that up close. And I don't know. I mean, I'm wondering if USC is more like that or if they're going to adjust very quickly and be even better than people think.
Well, it's finally upon us. Always a pleasure, Frank. Thanks so much for your valuable time today. I really appreciate it.
Enjoyed it. Great to see you, and look forward to seeing you a couple Saturdays.
Sounds great. Thanks so much. The outstanding Frank Bodani, York Daily Record. And this half hour has been brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
When car repairs get difficult.
Well, I just don't know.
Me neither.
We get good. Sunbury Motors. More than quality new and used cars, Sunbury Motors specializes in complicated auto repair diagnosis. They can handle intricate repairs and even complete auto body with service open Monday through Friday, 7 till 4. And Sunbury Motors has made simple repairs easy. Maintaining your vehicle is necessary. Finding the time to do it is difficult. Welcome to Sunbury Motors Quick Lane. Just walk in or call ahead. Relax in their remodeled waiting room with Wi-Fi, beverages, and snacks. While Sunbury Motors factory-trained techs take care of your oil change, tire alignments, brakes, and inspections. Quick Lane, 6:30 to 6 Monday through Friday, Saturday 6:30 till 2. Sunbury Motors, Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. We take the out of auto repair.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.